You haven't missed the boat on AI, it's actually just starting. And if you're a small business owner, you actually have a huge advantage using AI to boost your social media. But of course, you have to know where to start. So in this video, I'm going to give you the top 5 ways that you should be using AI right now to grow your social media marketing into a machine that ultimately grows your business. And if you don't know me, my name is Jarvis. I've worked in social media for over 8 years, including working at Meta and TikTok, and I've used AI as an integral part of my business for the past 2 years. And it's allowed me to double my business revenue in the past year while being a stay-at-home dad and a volunteer firefighter. So let's jump into exactly how to use this in the top 5 ways I've seen using AI to be a benefit to your social media and ultimately grow your business. So let's jump over here to the whiteboard. So the top 5 ways to grow your business with AI, specifically your social media with AI. Number 5, I want to start with and work my way down to the better ones. And a lot of these are pretty different than what you've probably seen before, so I'm excited for you to see. But number 5, the first way that you can start to grow your social media here is actually using it as a search engine. And this is really the most basic way. That's why it's number 5 on this list here. But yes, it is a really great alternative to being a search engine. And the best way to use AI as a search engine is to use specific examples that can really help give context. So the big thing with AI in general, if you're brand new to it, is that context is king. You want to be able to give it as accurate information as possible to get the most specific result you're looking for. And when you're using AI as a search engine, it's no different. Now, whether you're using, OpenAI's ChatGPT or you're using Claude, they all can be really, really powerful as an alternative search engine to Google. And obviously Google, you still have Gemini built in there. So no matter what you're using, this is pretty beneficial, but it can be really, really helpful to look at specific things, and especially if you're wanting to look for something that you're not exactly sure what to find. A good example of this is, let's say you're a plumber and you're looking to make social media content that is going to help you get more clients. Well, yes, you can say, hey, what are some great ideas for social media that I can use to get more clients? And that's kind of a more Web 2.0 way where you're just using it as like generally as you would as a Google search. But instead you could say, hey, give me the names and the links to 5 different Instagram accounts of plumbers who have a really good following and who are generating really great results and engagement on social media. And immediately what that does is it kind of shifts the framework. Instead of a more generalized answer that'll say, hey, post often and make sure to provide value to your audience, which is not bad advice, but it's not really as tactical as we could have. And when you give specific links, not only can the search engine actually pull up those links and go a step farther when it's AI and not just a normal Google search, but it can also look at everything that's a similarity between the 5 of those. So if you put 5 different, or let's say if you back up and you say, hey, give me 5 different links here to social media people who are plumbers who are getting a lot of business on social media, then you can get those links and you can say, hey, great, now scan these profiles and tell me what are some big commonalities that you think would help provide information for me to use to develop a strategy that would also provide more business in my bottom line, to provide more revenue for my bottom line, and ultimately improve my social media strategy. So that's one of the best ways you can use AI as a search engine to be very, very specific, and of course to help you figure out the best way to prompt it, right? Because these are things that, yes, a normal search could do, but it would take a lot of time to research and actually look in manually to all these accounts to find the data points, and then to Google search like, okay, well, it looks like all 5 of these people are doing X, Y, and Z. So let me ask, how do I film in this way, or how do I do whatever? Instead, Claude or AI, Chat GPT or whatever you're using, whichever AI you're using, can actually help you do that and skip a couple steps there and make everything a lot faster for you. So the big thing here is, of course, context, right? Because that is going to really provide a lot of advantage to you, and really provide the best kind of result possible when you're really going in here and asking it a question. Now, context is really big. And then, of course, the big benefit here is going to be time. And I would say, uh, you know, analyzing. because with these two things, it's kind of a step beyond just a normal Google search. And that's one of the best ways to use AI, but again, as a search engine, but again, don't just simply put in what you would with Google. Go a step further and say, hey, give me X, Y, and Z results, and really step by step break this down. If you want to work backwards, a great way to do this is to say, okay, I need to be better at social media, so I want to look at other people in my industries, in this case, other plumbers on social media, and I want to say, how do I have a better social media strategy? And then go, backward a step and say, okay, well, I'm probably going to learn from the people who are already doing great results. So, okay, now I need to find the people who are doing great results, and AI can help you in that entire process. So it's a really strong way to replace your search engine, and give you a lot more benefit that way than what you're normally seeing. So number 4 is a content transcript analyzer. I've used this all the time, and I think this is a great way to utilize AI to really, really save some time here. So if you're making social media content, right, hopefully you're making video content, because it really helps to get a message across quickly. A lot of, social media content that's being consumed is mostly video, whether that's long form or short form. This works both ways, which is really great. One great way I recommend making content, and I'm probably going to do it with this video too, so just a little, peek behind the glass, is you want to make long form content and structure it, of course, but I tend to find it's really helpful to have a high amount of volume, especially if you're newer and you're starting out, because you're going to learn more by having a lot of volume of something and just naturally getting better. And of course, tactically trying to think, okay, how could I improve this video? Than trying to make the perfect video from the get-go when you don't even have enough of a sample size to know what's going to work yet, right? You're going to learn faster by just doing it a bunch of times. So with that, I recommend recording videos and not getting too bound down to the exact script or, oh, I need to have a perfect scene or whatever, and then just talk about what you know and providing value to your audience. One, that's great for authentic content. I think authenticity gets really far on social media. But two, it makes it much easier to film, which means you're going to be able to do more and save some time, right? So just set up a studio space, record, and just, press record, and just start talking, right? And you're going to get better as time goes on. But the way that kind of ties into things is that if you record a 20-minute video where you're talking about all these things you've learned, stories that you've had, let's go with the plumber example still, different case studies you've had, or what you've learned, or, let's say people in a certain area, if you're in the north like I am and you have pipes that freeze all the time, you can give recommendations on how people can avoid that, remind them to turn off the different valves that are outside, all that kind of stuff. And you can make a video on that context and not worry too much about a perfect script, and then use AI to pull the transcript and turn that into something that can be more polished and bite-sized for different pieces of content. And specifically, you can also, of course, get a lot of scripts out of that you can then record for like short form content. And the way this works really well, if we're doing a content transcript analyzer, the way this works really well is what we're seeing working well in social media in general, and that is going long form to short form, right? So if you think about like a funnel with your social media content in general, you really have like, shorts, reels, TikToks are all the same thing, right? Vertical, shorter form content, right? And then at the bottom here, or at least more so on the bottom, you would have like long form. And like live video too, but for the, for the sake of this, let's talk about that. So short forms and reels are generally going to get a lot more views, right? Which is awesome. But it's also, consuming a lot less content. So you're building less trust, you're, building your brand to a smaller degree, and a great way to kind of function or position shorts and reels in your or in your strategy here is to really just use them as ways to get people into the long form. And think about it as if it's like a date, right? It's like your first date. You're not going to like, I don't know, what's a good example? I've been out of the dating scene for a while, but you're not gonna go to like a huge commitment thing, right? You're not gonna take a road trip, right? You're not gonna go like out of state, like on like a date, for your first date, right? That's kind of sketchy. The person doesn't know you that well. If you're a guy, I'm generalizing here, but I guess it doesn't matter. If you're a person, and you're asking another person out on a date and you're saying, hey, like, let's go, 100 miles out of the way, that person's gonna be like, I don't even know you. You might kill me and stuff me in a suitcase. I don't want that. But the first date might be, let's get coffee, or let's get drinks, or let's get dinner maybe. And then that leads to a bigger date, right? That has more, brand building, so to speak, or relationship building, which is what brand really is. And so if you have your shorts and your reels are giving little bite-sized pieces of high-value content that is leading into long form, and long form is a much stronger spot to eventually, if you want to get even like, farther into the funnel, converting in a somebody into a client. Just because, if you're watching a long form, like 1 hour video or even 20-minute video, that's 21-minute shorts, right? Or that's, 61-minute shorts or reels or whatever it might be. And so you're building a lot more. However, it's a big ask for somebody to watch that much time, that much content. And you usually have to nurture that with shorts or reels that can kind of get them into the funnel, so to speak, right? So you have top of funnel shorts and reels, middle of funnel long form, and then obviously the goal here is building your business and getting more revenue. And ultimately, long form is going to help you convert better, generally speaking, than short form. So how this all ties in again is just using that long form content, building a transcript here. From that, recording your long form first, building a transcript. And what's really cool is, I used to have to take this and like put it into a video editor and pull out the captions, and I'd make the captions automatically, so it didn't take that long. But there's still a few extra steps here. Now you can actually just throw in a YouTube link and say, hey, build me a transcript. Depending on the AI platform you're using, you may have to have a third-party tool in there, or at least like for Claude, you might have to download a skill. That's not going to be that hard to find. You can just Google that, or better yet, just search it in Claude and it'll tell you how to do it. But you can pull a transcript directly from a YouTube link and then say, cool, use this transcript to create 5 to 10 different reels that are high value, very, very specific 1 minute or less videos that can ultimately lead more people to watching this full video. And Claude or ChatGPT, I'm more preferential to Claude right now. I think it's performing a little bit better. But that is going to generate some really great examples. And you might only use the top 3 of those, right? You want to take like 10 of those and say, cool, I think 3 of these are actually good or great, and the other ones are okay. Just use the 3, right? You can use all of them if you want, if you have the capacity, but always having a step in there for humanization is really helpful. I mean, AI is awesome. It's very, very cool, but you are limited by the context that you give it. So having a buffer in there to actually course correct and see what you're looking for is really helpful. And then you can always obviously reiterate, right? The thing that with AI is just constantly reiterate. The more information you give it, the more back and forth. The chances of giving a perfect response on your first input to ChatGPT or to Claude is whatever percent, and then after the 5th iteration of a piece of content is dramatically higher. So more iterations to get exactly what you want is really beneficial. But you can use that all very, very quickly and save a bunch of time, make some long form content, and then work your way back to getting the short form content that's going to lead into it. And just as a quick little tip here, if you don't do this, it's really helpful to use YouTube. I forgot the B. YouTube Shorts have an awesome feature where you can link another video. So you can literally, in the YouTube Short, link a YouTube Long right in there. So you can have like, one of the tips of what you should do to winterize your home if you're a plumber or whatever. And then like the next, and then the little link at the bottom just says like the 5 most important tips every New Yorker needs to know about their home before winter, whatever the SEO friendly and optimized and hook friendly title is. And then lead them right into a YouTube Long. It's a great way to do it. And by the way, too, you can obviously put that into, Claude or ChatGPT or whoever to optimize for that. You say, hey, make sure it's a very, very strong hook, and it's going to capture a lot of attention because this is going to be top of funnel and lead people down to my long form version of this. So that's a really great way. I use it all the time. I think it's an awesome way to utilize AI for your social media. So number 3 is your copywriter and your optimizer. So this is similar. If I can write copywriter and oops, optimizer. Can't look at my own notes. Copywriter and optimizer. It's gonna bug me if I don't change that. So copywriter and optimizer. It's very hard to talk and write at the same time, or at least it is for me. So this is where you can utilize AI in a way that can plug really well into what you're already doing. So if you have like a CRM that's sending automated messages, or you're in your social media, let's say you are making content and the call to action is a like a mini chat integration, or I know some CRMs can do this natively as well, where you basically make a video and you say, hey, comment the word guide, and I will send you my guide on X, Y, and Z thing, right? And it's going to be automatically built out so that when you comment that word, it's going to send them a DM, it's going to send them, the link, whatever, and then you can generate a lead out of that, or you can send people directly to a checkout page for like a low cost offer. That's a great way to do it. Pro tip, by the way, a great thing to do is to send people to a really, really low cost like course or product or whatever it might be that costs like very much, like likely $0 to deliver, get them to buy, and then have the follow-up pages of that funnel automatically direct them to upsells that kind of make it better. So a great version of this is like, let's say you're a lawn care specialist, right? And you're basically like, hey, get a $5 guide on, or a coupon book for this local like hardware store, just as an idea, right? You'd have to build that out and all that stuff, but just something, right? Something of value that's definitely worth more than $5, right? And a very easy sell. Your content links to that. They say comment the word grass and they send it, and then they send it along. They buy the thing, and then immediately it sends them to a follow-up page where you can say, hey, by the way, I saw you need that, would you want this awesome discount on, like, you get pay for 4 lawn mowings and you get 5 free or something along those lines. And then also, hey, after that, hey, do you also want weeding done? Would you also want this done? We have mulch, we have all these partners and affiliates and all that stuff. And that's really great because, one, you're giving people a lot of value up front. You're kind of proving it, and then once they're in the funnel, it's like, well, I already bought this thing, might as well just take care of all these other things too. It's a great way to kind of transition people along and get a lot of benefit out of that. I can't tell you how many times I've seen really strong growth from my business. I sell a $5 thing, and they end up spending $500 on total services or whatever it might be on upsells. So great way to do it. But what you can do in all of that, and when you're writing your content, and especially if it's very text-based, or this even applies to email and copy on your website as well, is, of course, plug it right into Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, and analyze it for, hey, I'm noticing that my open rates on these emails are very low. What can you do to plug in my headline, my subject line, and my first line that's demoed in the email prompt that shows up, to make sure I get higher open rates, right? Then you can test that and you say, give me like 5 examples. Even ask it, hey, what do you think would work best, especially for a lawn care company or a plumber or electrician or whatever it might be, or a lawyer. And then say, okay, great, like that's fantastic. Now let's look at the body of the email. In the body here, I have like these 2 paragraphs and then this kind of call to action. How would you rate this in terms of the likelihood of somebody actually clicking through? Is there a better call to action I can use? Can I have a better offer in here? Should I have more spacing in my email? Should I be more concise? All of these different things, and you can just ask Claude in the beginning, or Gemini or whatever, hey, what do you think about this? What would you rate it? What would make it better? What do you think would increase click-through rates and whatnot, and set me up for a better way to get this email viewer into an actual customer, or to book an appointment or whatever it might be. But it's very, very good for that, especially just because it can give you 3 to 5 to 10 or how many you want, that you can analyze and say, okay, this one feels better. Which one do you think is better, Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT? And then plug that in, and you can always A/B test them. That's a great thing to do, especially if you have a CRM that has AI integration in it. A lot of times you might even be able to build that out automatically if you're built directly into your CRM with like Claude, let's say. You might even be able to just build it out and say, hey, can you plug in and actually make an A/B test of this email campaign with the changes that you've made here? And then after a couple weeks, you'll actually see which one's working better. Then you can feed that back into Claude or ChatGPT or whatever, and get kind of an ever-evolving loop, right? And just keep getting better and better and better open rates, right? Because the cool thing about A/B testing like that is that if you have like 2 different versions, one's guaranteed to do better and one's guaranteed to do worse. And so even though that's like not solving it perfectly, you can say, cool, hey Claude, this did better than this. Let's go down the rabbit hole of what made this better and analyze that and make some more drafts so that we can continually improve. that's a really great way to use it because iterations are going to be great. And if, as a pro tip, if you're in like Claude, for instance, this is great to use in co-work, not the chat, because co-work, what you can do is build what's called a project that can have a longer standing memory by using local files on your computer. You don't have to understand all of that, but if you go into co-work, you can just say like, hey, I want to build a project that I can continually test, A/B test these different like email marketing campaigns. How would I best do that? It's better than doing the chat where it's going to forget its memory, every however often. You can do a very similar thing with ChatGPT and use, what's called a custom GPT that can kind of have specific rules that you build out. So it's like not just a general GPT, but it's designed to do a certain task. That's a great way to do that on ChatGPT versus Claude, so on and so forth. But that's a really great way to do, testing copy. And I apologize, I'm not really using this whiteboard enough, but I'll try to use it more. You do A/B tests, so A, B. So you might have like email 1 is like, here's all this language and a call to action. And then you might try B is like much more brief and just like a couple lines, right? And then a quick call to action. And you can really test out which one's better. Plug that. I'm trying to use this more because I'm a visual learner, so it's helpful. But you plug that, back into like, let's say Claude. And then you say, essentially, A was the winner, B was the loser. Let's make a new A/B test. So A2, I'll say B2, and then so on and so forth. And you can just really just continually do this to see better and better results over time as you're testing these things out. Number 2 here is a comment campaign workflow. So this is really nice because like I was kind of mentioning there, in your campaigns, whatever you're doing, your email campaigns or whatever, on social media specifically, it generally tends to be, again, social media as a whole can be very top of funnel. It can kind of be medium of funnel too, because it can also, be a nurturing tool, especially for like businesses that have like a long conversion cycle. So like real estate agents, where like your clients are going to be buying a home very rarely in life. So that is something where you can do that as well. But because social media can be so top of level, and you have those like, let's say, comment campaigns as a great way to get people down the funnel. That is where campaigns. That is where you can get a lot of positive interaction here. And what's really cool is that if you're not sure how to build this, that is something that AI is going to be really beneficial for you. So this is where obviously context is really helpful. Again, what I would recommend again is using a custom GPT in ChatGPT or a co-work project inside of Claude and say, hey, I'm looking to get more business directly from my social media. I do X, Y, and Z. I need to figure out a product that I can do as a low cost offer. And even if you want to mention this too, it's a little bit of a more advanced thing, is even mention that you're trying to build what's called a self-liquidating funnel. That self-liquidating funnel is something where it's going to be a low cost thing that can ultimately pay for itself very easily. So you're basically getting leads for free. That works really well with ads. It's very clear because you're sending people to a thing, you're paying for the ad spend, and the thing is low cost, but you get enough conversions where it's neutral, and you just get that lead for free. Great way to grow, compound over and over again if you can get it right. ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, whoever you use, is going to be really powerful for that. But you can build that out and test it inside of there. Use it to understand basically what things you could give away, and then workshop it with there. Because if you find that like, hey, it gave me this idea to give away like free like lawn mow session, but like that's lawn mow session, lawn mowing, as an intro offer, that's great, but I don't really have that's not really repeatable. I'm maxed out there. Use these tools to find other ways to build that self-liquidating funnel. Use these tools to understand basically how you can build a stronger comment campaign. What's really powerful here is that you can really start off at a very vague level, and if you keep reiterating, it can help you, workshop your thoughts down into a more narrow focus. I think a lot of times people either think I'm just going to use ChatGPT as another Google, or I'm going to go in there and make something really powerful, but it can be a really great organization tool. And I've used it personally to make some great comment campaign workflows that have worked out really well. And so you can definitely identify it use it to identify like the best kinds of posts that are going to work for this, or what are the best kinds of comments I should have that will actually get people to comment in there, or what kind of call to action should I use in my video that's actually going to get people to actually make that comment that will ultimately send them the thing. And then of course, what should my follow-up be like in ManyChat that actually sends them the messages that gets them to click. That can all be really handled well by AI in a really popular or powerful way. And the last one here I have for us today is the short form content scheduler. So very quickly, because this video is going longer than I wanted it to. The short form content scheduler, there is such a powerful feature that's pretty new. I know it's specific for Claude. I'm sure there are other tools that can do it, but I know it's popular with Claude. You can create a system. This is definitely done through Cowork primarily, where you're making a project where you can, let's say, record a long form video, upload that link into this project you're building inside of Claude. It's a skill you have to download. I would Google it. I would say Claude skill to turn long form YouTube video into more content for Instagram, let's say. If you Google that, you should be able to find it, or even just ask Claude and they'll be able to find it. But you can download a skill where it can take that piece of content and then organize it into a bunch of different content. Now you can actually use that and say it can pull out like the 5 main topic points, trim it down in a very concise like tweets that can be very powerful, very cutting tweets that can get a lot of engagement there. You can automatically turn those tweets into a carousel post. And I'll actually walk you through exactly what I did. So I have a YouTube link. It will go through Claude. I'll put it into this project. And then Claude will give me, 5 to 10 like tweet style posts. And then I approve those. And then what happens is those tweet style posts can then get turned into a carousel or two, right, for IG. And then those can also get turned into scripts. If I could spell, there's only one C in script. Into scripts for short videos. And so what you can do is actually have this automatically build out and then send it. And the really cool feature is that all of this can be sent through an integration. The one I've seen work, I bet there are probably other ones in there, but there is a tool called Blotato, where basically you can utilize Claude, integrate with it, and Blotato, and then it can basically build out all of this stuff actually inside of this tool that's going to be social media ready. Inside of Blotato, you connect your social media, connect socials, and then it can build this out, send it back through Claude for you to approve. Make sure there's no issues there. And it's going to take a little bit of time to workshop it to make sure it's like not getting cropped weird or not like weird, symbols in there, because you're telling AI to make graphic things. It's going to be a little bit messy in the beginning. But then once you have all this built out and then it's done it a couple of times, then it can send to socials / schedule it to automatically go live for you and then post to your socials because it's connected through Blotato, which is like a social media management tool. And then all of that whole system can be optimized and then put back into Claude as a project. And then that project ultimately is something that's very, very repeatable. And then you get to this refined system where it's optimized, it's perfect. You can still always have an approval setting in there, but that way you're recording a long form YouTube video. All you have to do is throw it into Claude, into that project inside of Cowork, and automatically it's distributing multiple pieces of content to your socials once you approve it, or you can set it on autopilot if you want. And then it's giving you scripts for short form content, which can lead into the YouTube. And then those short form pieces of content can obviously be put to other other places outside of just YouTube and Instagram, TikTok, and all the places where short form content is performing really well, which can then tie back into your comment campaigns, maybe build out a self-liquidating funnel for you. And then so that way you are getting leads from this one YouTube video, from all the content that's being built there. It's a refined system and it's saving a ton of time. And that is the coolest feature I've seen so far for AI with your social media. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.